right, so bring me.
Yeah, that's why we need to create people being on Zoom that are joining and so forth. We'll return it to mute until we get started. But we have to do that by making sure that. Thank you.
I don't know. No.
Yeah, very much appreciate that. And I am super excited to see how many people are here to have our special meeting of the initial board of the NEPCO Lake District. And I'll explain the initial board as opposed to the ongoing board, which will be voted on at the first annual meeting. I want to introduce the initial board to you so you know who they are. Right in front of me is Lyman Chan. Lyman lives on Shore Trail. Dave Woodcott is here. Dave is part of Film Park. Boz Bosser is the village administrator for Port Edwards. He is appointed by the Wood County Board of Supervisors, by Port Edwards to be their representative. The largest municipality gets a seat on the board. And also Joe Zerklu, who is on the county board, was appointed by Mr. Plemmel here and the county board to be the representative for them. Those two people, the county board and the Port Edwards people, are quote permanent members until otherwise discarded. And the other three of us are serving in the initial role. And then again, there'll be a voting period at the annual meeting for permanent board members. Okay. Joe and Boz are at another meeting. I expect them to come shortly, and we'll reintroduce them at that time. But I wanted you to at least know who the board members. I really would like to go over the agenda with you very quickly. I think it's really important that we all understand that the NEPCO Lake Board represents all of you. And we believe that we're all stewards of the lake and the opportunity for it to become a place of importance and a destination point for ourselves, for the people of Wood County and visitors, to be a great recreational opportunity and an outdoor experience for them, and solving for three things. First of all is unparalleled water quality. Second is to attend to species in an acceptable manner. And the third is to have a natural habitat that allows the plethora of really interesting birds and animals that we all see, minus the muskrats, that we all see and enjoy. So that's what we're solving for, but it's about you. We're here to represent all of you, and I want you to know that. I'm going to go through the agenda really quick, and then we'll get started. That was a brief introduction. There are going to be 3 times that we will invite and ask you for comments. The first time will be as soon as I be quiet, and that is to have any general comments you have about the agenda and what you think, or what you like, or whatever you want to comment about. We are not in a position, because we're using as much of a Robert's Rules of Order approach as we can. This is a public meeting. And we can defer it to one of our work groups, or we can defer it to later in the session, or just defer it to go look up the information that's needed and get back to you. There will be minutes of the meeting, including what you see on the screen. We have 3 things on the screen we want to share. We will try to get out the minutes within 48 hours of tonight. So that will be it. So that's the first comment piece. The second time will be after we look at what we're proposing for 2023 this summer and this fall, a budget that will do some very interesting things, frankly, potentially exciting things that many initial boards aren't able to do before first annual meeting. And I'll share with you why that's possible. After that, and then looking at, because we don't have any money. And as much as most of us don't like to borrow money, that we have a very good offer from a local bank that would allow us to do that. We could get some things done this summer on the lake that otherwise most lake districts have to wait until after the first annual meeting in a year to a year and a half later. So we'll share with you what those potential things are. We only have one really requirement we have to do from the Department of Natural Resources, and that's get a aquatic study and lake management plan done this fall. Otherwise, nothing will get done on the lake. We won't be able to vote for grants, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the only must have before the first annual meeting. Okay. So comments there. Comments before we vote on whether or not you all want or would approve a loan. And then we're going to go through a little bit about what the first annual meeting will look like. And at the very end, we want to open it up for any question you have about the Lake District, about how it's run, your input, et cetera, et cetera. We'll open it up for a general question and answer. Okay, so 3 times. All right, sounds good. So let's get started. I've introduced the initial board members. Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Eric Hummel. I live on South Bluff Trail. Okay. General comments. Who has a general comment to make about the agenda that you'd like to share? And if you do, anytime you want to speak, just if you share your name and also where you live, that would just be real helpful for us to orient who you are, so we can come look at you. So that would be really helpful. So general comments. Okay, we'll admit, the people on Zoom, we'll admit them as they come up. Thank you. That was the comment about let's make sure we get everybody on Zoom. Unfortunately, Zoom members are not allowed to vote by state statute. We're up to us. We want everybody to vote, but they're very strict about what the state statute about who can vote and who can't. Hopefully that hasn't been. We'll see what we can figure out because any other comments? Okay, so I will go through most of my item number 5 comments by Chair. I want to share with you what I think is potentially exciting. In addition to that plant management study that's required, because we have an opportunity to have weed harvesters available to us this summer, as opposed to waiting until after the first annual meeting in 2024. There is a cost to do some repairs on them, but we have an opportunity to actually do some work on the lake this summer. That is very rare in terms of lake districts. Many of us went to a meeting of new lake district people, and none of them had that kind of opportunity. So we're more busy than what we expected to be, but I think the opportunity is worth putting in the effort and seeing what you all think about it. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about: is the harvesters being available, getting out, experimenting with piloting some work, cutting some weeds, see how that goes, so we can be prepared for a full management approach that's acceptable to the DNR and next year. That's, I think, what I think is very exciting. And I'm going to let Ryan now move to take the wind harvester update. I think everybody knows that wind harvesting on the lake has been there for a number of years. I think we've been cutting the lake is probably starting to go a lot more than I've done in my 2 years. I think we've been on the road for back 20, 30 years. And the generations of machines, I think the machines that are here now, machines are in the range of 30 years old. We've got 30. They've been on the lake for maybe 10 years.
acquired by the Pavlovskis, and the Pavlovskis purchased the land from, I don't know if it was Methuselah, people were down by a little bit of that. And those machines, the good thing is they are all stainless, and we're told they can have an incredibly long life. So even though they're old, the fact that they're stainless and there's really not that many moving parts in them, they last a long time. So we can get them repaired. I think we can continue to run those machines for a long period of time. I'd like to give some recognition to Jeff Mann. Jeff's been involved in this. Jeff's not on our board, but Jeff's in about working groups, and Jeff happens to be in the camp. He's kind individual who has been involved with the maker of that equipment is Aquarius. Aquarius is here in Wisconsin, down on the southeast corner of the state. And they look over at what it takes to get them running. And the only thing we've learned so far, we'll learn more as we go into is that they do break a lot. They have hydraulic oil in them. There's the food grade hydraulic oil in them, but they do that it doesn't have the weight. That has to be replaced every year. The hydraulic pumps can fail, hydraulic hoses fails. There's cutters in the front of these things. The cutters stick things in the water that shouldn't be there, rocks and such. And our intent is to get the machines repaired soon. We were hoping to do it this week. That got delayed a little bit. We'll talk about that later. But we'll get them repaired, and we hope to begin doing what we're going to call trial weed harvesting in 2023. It is not meant to cut all the weeds on the lake. We don't know enough to do that. We're trying to do that. But we want to get started and run what we can so that when we come to 2024, we are well prepared to have to in the lake and make a significant impact. I mean, I think that all going well, we'll see an impact in 2023. But our real plan is to begin, I'll call it normal weed operations in 2024. After we're fully funded, and we'll go back to the comment there. We don't get any funds to operate the district except for the one we're going to talk to you about tonight. So the property taxes from 2023 are collected, and then that our share of those funds are turned over to the Lake District in January or February of 2024. That's really the first time we get money.
One add, the harvesters are going to, there's a little bit of delays in documentation purposes, et cetera. They're going to be transferred from the Pavlovsky Development Company to Port Harbor. So they will be owned by them in the short term. And we'll see if they can place an overall for a while, but to be determined. But nonetheless, that's how it's going to be working. And it just needs to be a transfer process that's a little bit more delicate than what we thought it would be. But otherwise, we hope that gets done in the next month or two. Then we start pending that time. Okay. I'm going to skip the village update. Mr. Kimmel is kind enough to be here, and I got to thank speed of action that Woods County put together to get us from putting the petitions in to the clerk by the state statute in late February, and by March 21st, they have 90 days. Okay? On March 21st, got before the board, public meeting about that. The board met unanimously, all 17 voted in favor of forming the Lake District with the boundaries that were set up. So that's incredible. Couldn't have done it without the board. Thank you, Mr. Kimmel and the board. Fort Edwards has been a great partner in this as well in terms of negotiating things. They're going to have 85% of the lake starting January 1st, 2024. And as the largest municipality, they've taken a very large role in helping get this going, hence the help with the harvesters. So, okay. You want to say anything about the county while you're here in place of Mr. Zerflu, or, and I'm not putting you on the spot.
I came here to learn like everybody else, but what we tried to do was meet the needs and the requests of the property owners and vast majority of time on the lake management district. So we'll comply with their wishes and putting these more hands residents of that district in the lake. That was our part of this, and other than a appointing the initial board and having the appointment process for a county board member in perpetuity. That person may remain the same, it could change. We don't have a lot of folks involved other than try to do their part.
Yes. FYI, we continue to contact with the Wood County Board for a variety of reasons, because there's a natural connection there. Also, maybe there's an opportunity to get some money. And the DNR is also a place where we're in constant contact because they have approval status on what we do with the lake and so forth as well. With pardon me? Oh, right. So introduce Raymond Bosser, who's the village administrator and also the secretary of the Lake District at this time. Do you have anything you want to add from?
I'd like to appreciate all of my correspondence with all the village, as well as now the Lake, appreciate all patience and dialogue. Please keep it coming. We as the village of Port Edwards, we want this to be very successful because you are 80% of our village as of December 31st this year. So we are very responsive. We're going to be responsive. We're going to work with you all when it comes to NEPCO Lake. And we understand the success of NEPCO Lake only benefits you all individually for your values, but represents the community as well as better it for everybody. So look forward to continuing the relationship.
Thank you, Bob. I swear I didn't say him before I said the nice thing about Port Edwards. And he kind of corrected me, it's December 31st at midnight.
Yes.
January, so I didn't mean it all, and I apologize for that. Okay, so let's talk about what a budget could look like for the remainder of this year, which would lead us into the discussion about what a loan would have, what we want to do with a loan. So I'm going to ask Lyman again to kind of look at from a budgetary standpoint what it would look like, and also then move right into what we would do in terms of weed operations to pilot the machines and see how they run and see what we're capable of doing.
Okay, this is an eye test. I'll talk through the points that are on here. There are three chunks of expenses to get the Lake District going. One is related to weed harvesting, and that is, on our ongoing basis, the majority of the funds in our district will be spent on managing the lake. Initially, we're starting with weed harvesting. What else will be there in the future for water quality or invasive species or whatever? We don't know, but we know weed harvesting will always be a part of what happens in NEPCO Lake. You all live here, you've seen the weeds when the weeds don't get cut, and we recognize that's a priority for everybody. And the cost of cutting weeds is always a large part of our budget, and to get started, we've estimated we could spend $42,000 this year on weed harvesting. Now, 22 of the $42,000 is to get the machines repaired. Again, the machines are to be donated to Port Edwards, but each year these machines require significant maintenance. 22,000 is probably above normal because they haven't, I think everybody's aware, they haven't ran for at least 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. I'm not sure when they last ran. But there's a big chunk to get them running this year. We got to put new batteries in them, we have to change the fluid. There's a couple of chains that need to be repaired. And Aquarius will be here to do that work for us. And Port Edwards has issued them a purchase order to do that work. And it's just a matter of working out the donation of the equipment and the timing of Aquarius to get the machines running. The other line items on there are the costs of weed cutting this summer. So we would attempt to hire one operator. We hope to have a couple of volunteers work with that one operator. The one operator would run the machines 2 days, hopefully. This is our target, let's call it. This is not a promise, so if we don't do this, you can't yell at us. Okay, you can't yell at us, but our intent is 2 days on the west side of the lake, 2 days on the east side of the lake. That one operator will run the weed harvester. If any of you have seen these things run, I've lived on a lake with that. I've seen these run in the past. You cut the weeds for an hour or two, and the machine goes over to the shoreline. It empties the weeds into a trailer or a conveyor, onto typically a truck or a trailer, and then that truck or trailer hauls the weeds to a disposal site. So there's the cost of fueling the machine, maintaining the machine during the year,
For this summer, we're intending to rent a truck and trailer, a pickup truck and a trailer. If that's successful, then we'll see next year whether we decide to buy one or to continue to rent one. That's the majority of the expenses this year. We had to get a permit from the DNR. I'm happy to say we already have the permit from the DNR. That was not a significant cost, but our lake management plan is 10 years old and was through good cooperation with local contacts here at the DNR that we were granted a permit for this year for, again, what we are calling trial harvesting. This is not, I want to say again, this is not meant to be a full year of cutting. So anyhow, $42,000 related to weed harvesting. And by the way, at the end of the year, we hope this year to remove the machines from the lake and park them somewhere, perhaps at Port Edwards, rather than leave them sit on the shoreline. It's probably not ideal to have them sit all the time. The second category of expenses on here is what we call compliance expenses. Every 5 years, we were required to get a new lake management plan or get our old lake management updated. 2013. So we are over to get that thing updated. And as part of getting the lake management plan, someone comes out and does a weed survey. They literally roll a boat around the lake and they pull a weed out of the lake every 50 feet, something like that. Can somebody in the background mute yourself? We're getting a little background noise. Anyhow, and that'll take somebody a long time to go around the lake. They sample the weeds, tell us what kind of weeds they are, and that is the determination for our management plan and what will be allowed to do next year. That's $11,300 in compliance expense. There's a few other compliance expenses there related to we're planning on hauling weeds to the compost site here in Wisconsin Rapids. There's a fee for doing that, and we have to register the resolution that was done by Wood County to record that we are now a legal entity here in Wisconsin. So the compliance expenses are $12,000. The remaining expenses are $5,000. It's meetings like this, which are quite inexpensive, I will say. We're doing training for weed harvester operators. Some of the board members got trained as well to learn about how lake districts work. We hope to launch a website. Most lake districts have a website. That makes it easy for you to find information on the lake. It makes it easy to publish information. And it is a place that gives us an identity so we can continue to communicate with you with what's going on. It's difficult using the US mail and it is difficult to use email. So we think a website costs us $1,500 this year to launch, and then on an ongoing basis, I think it's $600 or $900 a year, relatively inexpensive. There's a lot of websites like that out there if you want to go hunt down lake districts in Wisconsin. That brings, there's a small contingency amount of $900. That says, hey, all going well this year in 2023, we could spend $60,000. The process, I'm going to maybe switch gears a little bit. That's okay, Eric, and kind of talk about how we get the loan. So there is a provision. Lake districts are more exciting reading than I think you'd ever want. And in a section called Chapter 33 of the state statutes. And one of the provisions of Chapter 33 is a section called Power to Finance. Power to Finance refers to our ability to take out a loan as a lake district. In order to take out a loan as a lake district, we need a majority of the people that attend this meeting to vote in favor of it. So we're going to be doing a show of hands vote later in the meeting after we've answered your question. If the loan is approved, the loan will be approved as what's called a tax levy. So I'm going to go sideways a minute. How do we get money as a lake district? We get money as a lake district one of three ways. A tax levy is just like property taxes. There's a percent levy applied against the assessed value of the property, and that assessment is sent to the lake district as a budget. A second way is called a special charge. A special charge has nothing to do with the assessed value of the property. A special charge has to do with, it's a section, it's unique to lake districts that allows us to charge parcels more fixed fees than based on your assessed value. Let me say it that way. And the third way we get money is through grants and donations. And normally when there's grants and donations, I'll remind everybody that there's strings attached to those. Normally people don't just say, here's money, we'll spend it like one. Here's money and we'd like you to spend it on this. So there's normally restrictions associated with those. But that's how we get money. When the loan is approved, it will be approved as a tax levy. Now our intent is, and when I say a tax levy, we would pay the loan over the next 5 years. And if in round numbers, if everybody got charged the same amount, it would be $70 per lot for the next 5 years. That's approximate, okay? But the loan is actually being approved as a levy. So it's, when we approve it tonight, technically, it'll be charged based on the assessed value of your property. From our annual meeting, we expect to convert the loan to a special charge. That's probably more than you want to know, but I think I'm required to tell you that so you understand what you're approving. You're approving a loan to allow us to get off the ground. By the way, I should also say that the first assessment or the first tax levy won't happen until the property tax bill at the end of this year, whenever the property tax bills go out, November, December this year. So our annual meeting is in August. We'll approve the loan. It gets us started on the things we just talked about here. And then it would convert to a special charge at our annual meeting. We'll explain more to you at the annual meeting. We've done a lot of work on this. There is no easy way to get money unless somebody in the room wants to give us a big donation, by the way. Lance, I'm not looking at you or anything.
And I see a show of hands.
If we could scroll down, Boz, a little bit, there's a map. We had to submit this map to the DNR somewhere. I don't know where the map. Oh, there it is. This is not meant to be a profound map, but an interesting tidbit for you. When we talk to the DNR, our lake is roughly 500 acres, 495 acres, I think. We have 320 acres that are 10 feet or less, 320 out of the 500. And the eelgrass, which is a predominant weed that you all see in the summer on our lake, grows up to 10 feet of water. So there is up to 320 acres of weeds that we could see on our lake. This summer, this back, those green areas are what we're calling trial weed harvesting. Our intent is to try to make access to everybody's piers so that you can get through the weeds out to navigable water. And we're going to try also harvesting weeds in the center of the lake where people use it for skiing or tubing or etc. More of the boat recreation, and also to clear it up for fishermen. And we are not going to be able to cut this a lot. The green area here is 40 acres out of the 320 acres of possible weeds on the lake. Next year, we're going to go after more weeds. This is what our permit is based on for this year. I will add, we cannot cut if the paddle wheels and the harvester are in the water less than 3 feet deep. So if your pier is in less than 3 feet, we're probably not going to get anywhere here. Our intent is not to cut up the people's piers when we declare. We will get close to the shoreline and create a navigable path around the lake. That's what we're going to try to do. And we'll see what we learn by doing that this year. And I'm going to stop with that. Maybe that's a time for.
It's been a long time. I'm sure there's rambling around some questions by all of you. So let's start with questions related to the budget and the loan.
Yeah, we'll go back to that.
And if you, again, when you have a question, if you just share your name and the street that you live on, then they have that exact address. And I'm going to make sure we'll repeat it so everybody can hear it. So yes, sir.
My name is Al Lorch. I live on Kayak Trail on the far west side. So my question is on the budget and just kind of the administration of it. The Lake District is the taxing authority, right? But all of the expenses, the people hired, et cetera, will be hired by Port Edwards. So how is that to be handled? The money goes to the board and we get bills from the city and we send them money, or they just withdraw from our, I mean, it seems kind of odd that we're not just part of whatever's in Port Edwards management as opposed to it's a separate entity and a separate source of funds.
So the question is, what are the dynamics between the Lake District and the board in terms of payment for things like, people, employees, if you will, maintenance kinds of things and so forth? What's the arrangement with that, and why does it appear to be, moderately complicated?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, because as it was explained earlier, however the taxes work, whether levy or
Right.
charge per parcel, which my understanding was it would always be charged per parcel, but anyway, that would be turned over, as it was said earlier in the meeting, to the Lake District.
Right.
Well, obviously, if Oz and the city are hiring people and they own the machines that we'd be paying to maintain, money has to change hands.
Correct.
Are they going to do our accounts payable? Are they doing, do we have books? Is there a
Yeah, I'm gonna put on a plug for, before you leave, there's gonna be a list of work areas that we'd love to see some people also join, and there's one on finance, which would be really nice to have in addition to board members to do that. But let's answer the question. Do you want to take some of that, Tom?
Sure. So, it's just reverse what you said, the taxing authority is the village.
Oh,
So the village, Saratoga and Grand Rapids are your taxing authority. Those three entities follow a directive from the district because of state statute. The district establishes the amount, the special charges, and as long as they meet the state statute, they just send those three entities, this is what we need for you to send bills out. And then those three entities will send the bills out. We will collect the revenue over a period of time, could be a couple months, based on when you all pay your bills. Some of you will pay in December, some of you pay in January. Some will wait till the July timeframe, if you do split billing. So as we receive the money in those three entities, Saratoga, Grand Rapids, Port Edwards, we will cut a check to the Lake District. They are now the ones with the fiduciary responsibility to expense it, to track it, bookkeep it. That's not Village of Port Edwards, that's not your three government entities.
right, but you're gonna hire an employee that you're paying. that
Well,
we don't get a bill
there's,
for?
yeah, so there's some initial interim, I'll call it, initiatives that we as the village, because of my board has been very directive that they want to get this thing up and running and functioning. So there's been some directives to me that we will have some initial skin in the game, we'll hire somebody, we'll get them going. But your Lake District's gonna pay us back those funds.
So basically, you'll send us bills for whatever
Yeah,
you,
but this is really just gonna be the next couple of 6 months or so, until this thing gets functional with the revenue coming in on a regular basis. So the equipment being fixed, the employee hiring, some of the basic operational costs, the village is going to upfront that, pay it, get it going, and then as revenue is being generated this year with this loan and into next year, there'll be a payback to the village, because this is taxpayer money from my residents over there too, for just this lake, that'll be compensated back. And then we're thinking by the January, February timeframe next year, the Lake District will be fully functional on its own, that bills will come, they'll get them, the village will be out of business.
So this year is unusual. to be clear.
okay, so it's not an ongoing wage.
It isn't.
Just to get the wheels off the
Yeah,
ground.
this is a complication of trying to do what very few other initial boards do, because after that first annual meeting, then it goes to us to have employees, et cetera, et cetera. But given our status here for a very short period of time, hiring an employee, all that kind of stuff, whatever has been kind enough to take care of that part, we'll reimburse. Okay, great question. Other questions about the budget or the loan? Yes, ma'am.
Trisha Harvey, Golden Road and I. So the special charge for the loan that you're talking about this year, that'll be separate than the investment for our taxes for the following year. So this won't be paid with the money that we're paying in January or when we get our taxes.
Yes, so the question was, will the money for the loan, repayment of the loan over the 5 years, is that separate from an assessment that the Lake District will give to all of us for maintenance of the lake going forward? And yes, it's an and. a certain amount for take care of the loan and the amount for, lake care, quality, water quality and other lake maintenance. Yes. So it's an add-on. It's two.
So since it's a 5-year loan, does that mean we're paying? So we're all paying into this now,
Mhm.
essentially, we'll pay part of it now. So do we pay it in 5 years? I'm just confused with the.
Well, part of the reason is, that was something we considered, is we could say, so actually, are you all willing to pay, that money for 2023? Here's the problem. That doesn't, we won't get the money until, the end of the year, and the work we need to do is this summer and fall, so we would be without money until after the year is over. So loan was the only way to do it. We have a very good rate and a local bank that is very willing to work with us and so forth. And that's what we decided to do. Plus, our board didn't want to ask you, hey, divvy up some money before you see anything happen and trust us. And that just didn't seem to be a good idea.
If we're voting yes to the loan, then now we can do it anyway.
That's right. Trusting us that way. But you're gonna see action happen for that money. If we didn't do it that way, and in August, we're gonna ask you for more money for 2024. See, so it's just like, man, you guys are you're after us for money all the time. We wanted to try to prevent that from happening. Yes,
Eric, I was gonna add one thing to that. At the annual meeting on August 12th, we will present you a complete budget for 2024, which we'll consider, and it'll be completely visible of how the loans impacted in 2024 and beyond.
Yeah.
And you have to approve that. We can't spend anything on that budget until that gets approved in August, but we don't have any money if we don't approve the loan tonight. That's clear.
yes, sir.
My name is Jerry Beaver, I 976.3.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, the first one, that I'm just concerned about the notice for this meeting, or, we have enough people that were notified of the meeting. One reason I say that, I got a letter in the mail. Both the people in my area didn't have a clue what was going on. I told them through the meeting, they had no clue what was going on.
Mhm.
So I don't know how many other people that have been here about the meeting, they may not be here. I don't know that. I'm just letting you know.
Thank you.
Anyway, my other concern is, first of all, I'm very happy with you guys have done, we need to get the lake maintained, no question. I do have a concern though, because, who owns the lake? The lake is a community lake, is it not? I mean, it's located in Wood County, we're all, most of us are homeowners, we are on the lake. But we're gonna be obligated to pay for everything on this lake to get maintained, and it's a public lake, public is gonna be using it. I'm having a little hard time with that.
Sure. So let me answer the first question was, not everybody got a notice in the mail. A lot of people, some people in your area, not very many of them did. So we're aware of that. Our mailing is getting improved in terms of getting everybody's mailing list and so forth. And by the way, it changes a little bit when property changes. So we also sent out from an email list that hopefully covered most of those other people. Did we probably miss some people? Yes, we probably did. And we're trying to keep improving that list all the time. What's been nice is several people kind of said, hey, I don't think you have my address. Here's what it is, and here's my email address. But we'll get better and better about that before the annual meeting. So we should have a better piece of that. So again, mail by many of you, email by another group, and then some one-off kinds of things when they've said, hey, when's the meeting? And I didn't get anything. So we'll get better at that. The second one is why are we taking care of the lake when it's a public lake? Right? And part of our stewardship is to make it available to people in Wood County and visitors as well. Right? Is that the gist of the
Well, I
question?
think they go with the, first, because, they were kind of, Wood County, that, owns the lake or whatever, right? And we have, obviously, we have a direct interest in it, not one question I'm going to hear, obviously, all the quality and answers are and property.
Correct.
I'm just saying, are we, as this goes down the road,
and who knows where some of this money's gonna go. I think it's also a Wood County interest,
Yes,
nothing else, and I don't know where else.
Yes.
to go. And I think there should be some investment from the JUN home.
Okay. I did not pay him to make that announcement, but we're clearly interested in building, financial partnerships, with the county and with, grant groups and donation groups as well that will share that. The state statutes require the parcel owners and people that will benefit from the value of the lake to take on the fee structure kind of part, and it's up to us to generate fees or money from other sources as well. We will be very diligent about that. Another work group that was there are donations and grants, so if anybody's interested in helping us do that, please sign up before you leave. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, one of my questions. So the properties that are being assessed, are these properties that are located just on the lake, the waterfront, or what's, where is it?
They primarily are. That's one group. The second group are those that have access to the lake. That may not be on the shoreline, but have access to the lake, or have an opportunity to decide whether they want access to the lake. And the third is a very general category, one that's open for discussion, is will that property benefit from improving the quality of the lake? And if so, they're included. Now, what we're required to do, because the county board agreed, the resolution was to, thank you. The county board agreed that these were the boundaries that we would start with. Okay, and that's, you can see, almost all of them are either on the lake or would have the opportunity, if they chose to have access to the lake. There's always an opportunity to have questions about that if you're not in one of those two categories, but that's where we're starting with the boundaries that the Wood County approved. Okay.
Eric, I have two quick ones. There's over 200 lake districts in Wisconsin, so we're not the only one doing this. It's probably closer to 250 right now. And I believe the majority of the waterways in Wisconsin are owned by the public. They're not owned by a municipality or anybody. They're accessible and owned by the public. And the way the public gets access to them normally is through a government-owned property, and boat landing is normally controlled by some government entity, as we have here on the lake, this county park. Most people get on the lake through the boat access here. And that's how most lakes work, by the way. So we're not unique in that regard. And I will add what Eric said, there's a fair amount of grant money available through the state, but we have to exist as an entity to ask and get that money. They don't just send it to somebody, there needs to be a legal entity, like the NEPCO Lake District. We pursue the grants, and then we can get funded by asking the state, and there's quite a bit of funding available from the state.
One caveat, Lake Bed is owned by JUN. Very unique. That's been the case. That's different than the issues that are really important to them, but remember my first thing, water quality, so we have a joint interest continue to work collaboratively in that effort as well. Other questions?
So.
Al again.
Yes, Al. With the loan, which, we vote, we all approve, whatever, there would be, that would be based on the value of your property until it got converted to a flat fee.
That's our plan.
Is that an agreement that the bank that's given us the loan has to agree to, like a change of loan terms?
Whether we pay it by a levy or a special charge, they don't care as long as we pay it.
But that you said it has to be taken as a levy. I thought you said that earlier, and that there would be this conversion at the annual
The
meeting.
state statute says it has to be as a levy.
Okay,
State statute.
so then the plan of the board would be that it would be converted to a per parcel thing prior to the first tax bills being issued.
You all would vote on that.
If you agree to that, in August.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I think, you know, what we're probably all hearing is $70 a year for 5 years pays off this loan. Okay, but if it depends on the value of your house, you might be paying $300 every year for 5 years, you know what I'm saying?
Correct. There's a vested interest in all of us to, I think, be judicious and careful
Right.
about that. Absolutely. Other thoughts or comments about the budget or the loan itself? Yes.
What are the terms of the loan?
4.99% payable for 5 years with the agreement that we do our banking through that institution. But the institution, that, by the way, there was 3 quotes we got, they were ranging from 4.99 to 5.25%. And the bank that was most favorable is the NEPCO Port Edwards Bank, which is used frequently by the municipality and will finance things. 4.99 is a very good rate for this department. Our opinion.
Other question? Comment? Okay, before we move to taking a vote about that, Mr. Zurflu, Joe Zurflu, is the Work County Supervisor for District 17, which includes the Lake District. He's also on the Port Edwards Board. He ran on the Port Edwards Board primarily to work and collectively assure that the transition for those of us moving to Port Edwards was done reasonably and judiciously, not only for the current residents of Port Edwards, but for those who are for doing that transfer. So that's Mr. Zurflu. Joe already shared my thanks to the board with Mr. Clemo. I know she didn't say a whole lot about positive about you, but I that's
because his district,
Oh, I do it a lot.
that district borders mine.
yeah, but I can tell you that Joe has also been very influential and a great advisory partner to me and other board members. So thank you, Joe.
Pleased to meet y'all.
Yeah. So are we ready to exercise? Okay, so this is going to be a vote by show of hands. Those of you that have a sticker, a name tag with a colored sticker on there, green, orange, or
They're all green, I think.
reddish, orange, whatever, are eligible to vote. What I'm going to do is ask those in favor to raise their hands first. And I would ask maybe Al and Charlie, could the two of you do a separate count of those so that we agree on how many are in favor and how many are opposed? Could we do that, please? Okay, and then I will ask for those that are not in favor. So those in favor.
Doesn't feel bad, by the way, Eric and I get both, by the way, on the board because we are.
Yeah.
First of all, we're done, but we did it.
The county appointee and the Port Edwards appointee do not vote. So if you see their hands.
I don't know where you originated from, but up here, we're just here to driven snow.
If you're questioning my heritage, I'll go into that. Okay, so the motion is to approve a loan for $60,000 for the NEPCO Lake District to for 2023 to do some work on the lake, as well as take care of the lake study and any other reasonable expenses that are forthcoming within that $60,000 budget. Those in favor, please raise your hand.
Take them up for a minute, please.
Can I count the hands in ourselves?
Okay, all right, let's do that.
Or why don't we just do the nays and count them, because it's like counting everybody.
Okay, put your hands down. Those not in favor of the loan, please raise your hand.
Wow.
Unanimous, so.
Without objection, I am going to state that the motion passed with a very clear majority. It's not unanimous, I couldn't really tell if it's unanimous enough, with a very clear majority. Thank you for that. We owe you an extraordinarily careful and judicious use of that money. And we will not only get you the minutes of this, but our intention is to get out a monthly update of what's going on. And I'm gonna give you Lyman and Dave and Boz's and Joe's email. If you have questions, please feel free to contact them. Don't be scared. Yeah, there's no spare. Okay, so next discussion is the annual meeting. There are two critical issues for the annual meeting in August. One is to vote on the 2024 annual budget for the entire year. And then the second is to vote on the three board positions that are now occupied by Lyman, myself, and Dave Orcott on the initial board. The other two, again, as I said, I love your term better than mine, in perpetuity. But those three will be voted at that meeting by a ballot. Secret ballot. By secret ballot. We'll get something out ahead of time. If you're interested in running for the board, we'll give you an opportunity to get your name on the ballot. At the meeting, my intention is to allow each person that wants to run to take 2 minutes and share with them why they're interested in front of everybody before the vote happens, but that will be by ballot. Okay, staggered terms for that are so that we have only one board member coming up every year. There'll be one person that will have a 3-year term, one that will have a 2-year term, and one that will have a 1-year term. We still haven't quite decided on how to do that, but the natural thing is whoever has the most votes probably gets a 3-year term as punishment. I mean, as to take that. And then once that's done, the board itself will meet immediately after and elect a chair, secretary, and treasurer. Okay. We'll also at that meeting have an opportunity to hopefully our person doing the lake management study and plan will be here. And if she is done with the work, she'll be able to share about that. If she's not done with the work, she'll give you an update and answer tons of questions. She's very, very knowledgeable about lakes and how they go about it. Lyman is right. If you see somebody out there with a big pole, pulling stuff up, that's going to be her. And again, in our monthly updates, we'll let you know when that's going to take place so that doesn't, so you won't be surprised if that happens. We'll give you an update on that. And the budget. So, budget and voting for board members, update on the plan, and yes.
I see that the annual meeting is August 12th. It's a Saturday night. For attendance, I won't be there. I would be interested in moving it to a weeknight to register attendance. I think obviously whatever the board chooses, you guys don't want to go on it, but I won't be there. I'm wondering if others would too.
Okay.
It's a prime Saturday night in August, and I'll wear it.
Do you want to share how we came up with that date?
Yeah, we sent out a notice by email, tried to do a survey, that was by a few. The most requested date. We didn't specify a time, but what I would offer, Chair, is that you have vested interested people here. And if there's a time to adjust, now's the time to adjust. But you still have a lot of out-of-state folks that's when they come up. They chose because of the weekend availability, they were leaning that way. But I will defer to the chairman if we want to tweak that. Now's the time to tweak it.
Yes, hang on just a second. Go ahead, Mike.
Question,
For the annual meeting, we have to be here in person to vote or?
Yes. You have to be here in person by state statute. Not by us, but by state statute. Yes, Lance.
I was just gonna make a comment, I'm somebody who actually lives on a body of water that has a lake management district. If you don't run this on a weekend, you're gonna have a revolt. The vast majority of property, a large majority of property owners do not live here year round. And I know it sounds difficult, but, you know, we dealt with that over the years. When people want to be in attendance, it's very difficult for them to get up here, you know,
Yeah.
during the week, so.
Well, even a Thursday night or something, I mean, you know, a lot of people do like a 4-day weekend, I mean. To be honest, Mike and I actually have a conflict that weekend too, so I mean, not to say it should be worked around people just with conflicts, but I mean, to me. There, you know, summer is short, people have a lot of things going on a Saturday night. You know, I don't know what happened. I understand what you're saying too.
Yeah.
But. I don't know.
Okay, a comment in the back, yes, ma'am.
Split in 2 meetings, one on the weekend and one during the week, like updating apart.
I don't think so.
We can look into that. I'm hesitant to say, to be super positive about it. We certainly will look into that and ask that question. How's that?
I
John?
don't think we could vote twice.
I just said, we'll look into it, but I'm not very optimistic. Yes, John. Hang on a sec. John, go ahead. And then
With Sunday, these were people might be done with their weekend activities, and then the people that are not so out of pocket, that they might still be here on Sunday or would stay here.
You know, and I can see both points here, if I live here, so I didn't realize the out of towners and that. For them, I was thinking either that, like a Sunday afternoon, or maybe a Saturday morning.
Saturday
And
morning.
then you don't give up that Saturday afternoon, you got a wedding or something like that, you know.
Get it over with.
Yeah, they have it 9
get it
AM.
over. Get it over.
No, but if it's at 9 AM, you know, if it's at 6, it's like, well, you might have people visiting. And
We gotta find out.
One question, if it's Saturday morning, does that require pastries being available?
You're on the board.
It's not in the budget. Okay, we'll take that as a strong consideration. What I will say this is if you cannot make it, you'll have all the information ahead of time to look at. And seriously, I would want you to contact me or any of the board members and share your point of view. And we can at least verbally share what we've heard from other people, even though you may not be able to officially vote. I promise you, we will share any and all comments at the meeting. Okay? All right. Great, so what say you all about the morning?
You wanna do a show of hands of Saturday morning versus Sunday night?
Meeting doesn't require any percentage of the actual
Nope.
members, it's who's ever here vote.
Who's ever here vote?
Yeah, if 5 people showed up, that would be.
Five.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. John.
The pursuit of perfect times for the hard, right? So I think it's, you know, if you want to vote between Saturday morning and Sunday morning, I think that's smart, but it has, as somebody who lives here now and didn't live here for the first 5 or 6 years, it has to be on the meeting.
Okay.
It just has.
Sean?
I don't, again, I have no vote, but I want to tell you, I live in one of the largest lake management districts, one that spends the most money. Saturday mornings have been the most widely attended, and we've been in the lake management district for probably 20 years, and typically they're 9 AM, they usually last about an hour and a half. And that's typically been the best time that we have found, but I don't get to vote on this, so.
So that was the best advocacy comment I have heard without, and then kind of saying, but I don't vote. I love that. That's why Lance is really good at what he does as the board chair and we don't
You know?
pay him enough money to do what he does. How about we take that, I'm not, Sean, I think you're the man. How many would prefer the morning as opposed to early evening? I say that's done, unless, do I hear any?
Are you good with this location?
Pardon me?
They good with this location?
You know, you better check that with the parks, this could be rented already that day.
Yeah.
We'll try for here. If not, we'll find a suitable, other location to do that, but we'll try for here, okay? Super. Okay, so that's about the annual meeting. Now we want to open it up. Any questions you have about the, Lake District? Open for that kind of question and answer period. Yes, Kathy.
So if someone came to that meeting, so they also wanted to run to be the chairman, the secretary, and treasurer, do they have to put in, nominating petition prior to the meeting, or?
Okay, so the question was, if somebody wants to run, and Kathy, that's great, I love you as a chair. That's awesome. If somebody wants to run, do they have to put their name in ahead of time? No, you don't. And I'm making this up because there's no official way to do that. If you want to do that ahead of time, that's great because you can actually print your name on it, but we'll leave space for write-in candidates. So that if the spirit moves you and you talk to whomever you believe is the spirit out there on Friday night, and Saturday morning you wake up and said, I believe that's what I should do, that's my calling, we'll get you in there.
Eric, I have another comment for you, just have a benefit. If you get the website up pretty quick, our Lake Management District has always had a kind of hats in the ring. With the background of those who are running their qualifications, why they want to be a member of that board. So Lyman said he could get that up today yet. Yeah. But the point is, that gives everybody the opportunity to, you know, put their name out in front of people that have the ring and any qualifications they may have. If that suits your needs, that might not be a bad way to get some.
Okay. Even if the website isn't up by then, we can use the Port Edwards site and steer you into the Lake District component of that. And we can do it through there. That's our plan B. All right.
It appears the shelter is not available.
Okay, we'll find something else.
By the library.
Okay, we'll work on that. Sorry. Page thing. Okay, so, is Larry here? Yeah, Larry. So Larry has a background in IT. He's anxious to get going, and he's volunteered to help us with a group of others to get up a website and so forth. We have a provider we think is the right one for us, and has done a lot of other ones, and we could get that going as soon as the loan gets through the process and so forth. So Larry and some others, we'd love to have you. The cool thing is you get to help design the thing. All of you creative people and love that kind of stuff. That's really cool. All of you who are content geeks have an opportunity to be involved as well. But we can get a jump start on that and see if we can get there before the meeting. And if not, we'll use Port Edwards. Okay. Other questions? I know who Al is. Yeah, go ahead.
So in early meetings last year, going to Port Edwards, we discussed things and some of the issues were, you know, there were hoops to jump through. Creating the Lake District, getting the machines donated. One of the other things was, where can we put the machines? Where can we offload the machines? There were options being discussed. Places, has that moved anywhere? Do we have any idea what that is?
That is a great question. So, and we can share kind of where we are with that for this year. Probably still some work to do long-term, but we've got something that can happen this season. You want to share what?
So based on dealing with the developers, the Pavlovskis, we have a commitment for this year that with the donation of the machines where they are statically can remain this season. So we can offload where they're physically at right now. We gotta move some conveyors around and do that. So we're good for this season. We also have an agreement from Wood County Parks and Rec that this section right here by the highway, we're able to utilize for parking as well for a weed machine. They prefer not to do weed dump operations here, but we can at least park it here, rather than have to go always on that side of the lake. We are working options on the other side of the lake for a secondary site. So yes, we made movement. We got the county, not the county, City Rapids dump site that's able to take the weeds once we pay that fee. And that's just a one-time for the whole season fee. And we do have some opportunities with the village that we have a 2-acre parcel off of Town Line Road that the village owns. There's nothing there that could be a possible dump site, just to let it air out and then move it at a later date. And we are having discussions with other entities. You hit on it, Domtar, County, Saratoga, as well as the developer on expanding those operations. More so for next year, not really for this year. We're good for this year.
Yeah, great. Other questions?
Eric, I've got one. So.
Yes, Larry.
What other types of things would be in the scope of water management other than weed management? Thinking primarily of sediment management, being on the far east side of the lake, the creek is definitely more sandy. Even Lake District.
Yeah, so two things about that. One of the volunteer opportunities is to start looking at the watershed. NEPCO Lake watershed is over 180 miles east of Interstate 39. And the more water quality, as the DNR folks said, water quality starts in the land. And the best water quality we can do long-term, we've got a lot of work to do locally, but long-term is move upstream and look with farmers and others about how we create an atmosphere so that the water quality that comes into the lake is of higher quality. We have some volunteers that are here that with the DNR are testing the water quality. We'll report back on what the water quality is. Domtar obviously is very interested and very important to their products because they have high grade paper that they're now creating. They're very interested in the water quality, so we'll partner with them. And you notice I'm still avoiding the question about the sand. You noticed that, right? That probably involves dredging. And that will be a long discussion. We can set something up with the DNR and talk with them. It'll be somewhat complicated. I know there's some areas that you may be near that have previously been designated as habitat for certain fish. So, but let's get that information. And you could do double duty and be part of that regulation. There's another one about regulation. Because I had a request about putting riprap around the shoreline. And apparently that's the Lake District's opportunity to create regulations on that stuff. Clearly we have to do it with the DNR, but any of you that are interested in that to protect your shoreline from deterioration, we can build some regulations around that that will be user-friendly, but also habitat-friendly and fit what the DNR has to say. So we can talk about that with the DNR. Let's get the information about that. There are a lot of stories about dredging and so forth that even Lance could share with you, but I don't want to do that tonight because poor man had to pay a lot of money out of that, but we'll figure out how to best get that information. Okay. Other questions about the Lake District? I'm interested also in hearing from you about how we can make this feel like it's you as opposed to some board who's sitting there that doesn't have a pulse from all of you. So we'll find ways to communicate with you. And my hope is that you communicate back either by email or stopping some of us who walk around properties all the time, not stalking, just walking. Share your point of view on things. I'm really open to that. We've been able to bring that to the board so far. But I think with this turnout, there's opportunity to get a lot more than we've had before. So, John.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is it gonna be a quarterly meeting or is it gonna go to the annual meeting?
Well, interestingly enough, the board has been meeting about every 2 weeks. I think we'll do something similar through this summer. We'll get to the annual meeting. And then I would take advice from all of you about how often you want to meet through the winter and so forth as well. Certainly a spring meeting would make sense before things got going. So I don't know if it's quarterly or not, but if that's what you all want, obviously we'll put something together. All right?
Eric, could I add, all of our meetings are public, we, at least up until now, they've all been available on Zoom. We don't, so you don't have to attend in person. If there's value in attending in person, we'd like to hear that from you. You had to attend tonight to vote, so thank you for that. But generally, unless we're voting, which is typically going to only be for something unusual for the annual meeting, you don't have to attend in person.
The Village of Port Edwards YouTube page, I post all the NEPCO Lake meetings visually on there. So you have to go through the minutia of the village meetings, but you'll find a NEPCO Lake meeting on there.
The question in the back there. Do you have a question? Black down the way. Oh.
Great. Unless I hear more. Yes, sir.
Chuck, over on South Shore.
Yep. Thanks, Chuck.
Say thank you. You, Eric, Lyman, and everyone for putting in the time. We all have investment here, we all want to work, so thank you.
Thank you. And when I speak for all of us, it's actually a labor of love. I knew nothing about water going forward, and actually, Jackie, my spouse, wanted to live on the lake. I like mountains, but I've converted now to the lake, and I'm all in. So thank you very much, Steve. Yeah.
Scott, South Bluff Trail. It's more of a comment than anything else. I've sat on a national board in the past. I've been, president of sports boosters and so forth. The way that I always thought about it was the 3 T's, time, talent, and treasure. We've obviously just voted on treasure. The other 2 T's are also up to us. It's our time and our talent.
Yeah.
So I would say, I think it's incredibly important for us to support the board, not only through things like the tax levy and special assessments and so forth, but putting in the time, getting on some of these committees, and any of us that maybe have some type of talent. So anybody who knows grant writers, can write grants, that sort of thing, be actively involved and invested, because the more stuff that we can get done through our talents and through our time, that saves us our treasure, and that money won't have to be spent on it.
Thank you. So I'll put this up for you to just sign up here, but that isn't your only chance. You can contact any of us as well. I did see that my spouse just left, and usually what that means is make a rap here, or she's leaving me. I don't know which one. We'll find out in a while. Speaking for the board, so appreciate the time that you put in tonight and your involvement. I look forward to continuing that joint effort together. Thank you so much for coming, and we owe you a round of applause. Thank you very much. And without objection, I adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.